this dulcimer made downtown Hindman at the Luthier shop, dulcimer shop downtown. So if you're ever in Hindman, just pass on by. They'd love for you to come in. You'll notice it on the street there. They have the dulcimers hanging from the windows. And they have a great exhibition of old dulcimers. And this one made by Doug Naselroad right here, just recently.
There's a certain purity to the Ed Thomas dulcimer, I guess because it's so basic and it's so much to do with this place that, you know, now when we finish up an Uncle Ed and get it strung and playing, oh, it feels just like you've come home for the holidays. I mean, it's not quite the same as finishing other musical instruments, and I think it's because of all of the history and the study that's gone into it. Yeah. But it's also just a wonderful, wonderful design.
So they're making these dulcimers. They're kind of replicas of old Uncle Ed Thomas. He kind of started this tradition of dulcimer making in Kentucky. You know, the hourglass shape of that dulcimer. And he made hundreds of them and sold them all over the place. And passed his knowledge on to Jethro Ambergy, and that tradition includes Gene Ritchie, who took the dulcimer to New York City and became famous in the folk scene in New York and all over the world eventually.
It's gotten so much interest in the fact that Uncle, and especially because we're exploring Uncle Ed from here in Knott County, who is...
And Jethro Ambergy. They're known among dulcimer circles. Those two guys in Hindman are famous for their dulcimer building. They're like the rock stars of the dulcimer world. He's maybe is one of our local treasures. He really, he's really into preserving this stuff and passes it along to the kids.
With a few subtle modifications, we're widening out the fingerboard a little bit to make it easier for him to phrase chords on. But it's basically a walnut Uncle Ed Thomas style dulcimer. That's really the difference between a luthier and a music store. A luthier is more like a tailor to make you the instrument that you've always wanted. What your job as a luthier is, you try to seize what vision they have of what they want and interpret it with your work. Best case scenario, when you're finished, they'll say, not only is this what I had dreamed up, but this is better than what I imagined. I mean, we've actually had people tear up, you know, with instruments that they're just so thrilled with the way they turned out, and you know, that's really what you do it for. We don't make the thing that you can buy at the store, or really even try to. We try to make the thing that you can't buy at the store, because that's the value of us working. You know, to bring ourselves into an instrument. And plus, it's a relationship thing. You know, you get to know people. Generally, you enjoy them, and you know, when you're done, you should have a new friend, and they should have a new instrument that they're going to cherish. It varies a little bit, but mountain people are awful good. When you do your best for them, they will not forget it. I met Homer Ledford, and this was around 1970. Homer, I lived in Mount Sterling. Homer lived over in Winchester, and I had gone to him with some questions about an old Martin that I was trying to repair, and Homer was so friendly and so helpful about it. that it started a lifelong friendship and a 30, 40-year-long mentoring process. You know, Homer he was always there when I had questions, and you know, as an older craftsperson, I realized that an awful lot of what I do nowadays was informed by Homer.
Sometime in the early 90s, I ran across a book about Homer Ledford. Gerald Alvey, I think is his name, wrote it. And I became, so enthralled with that book that I decided to try and make dulcimers. And then in 2012, I just chanced across a little video piece about dulcimers, making dulcimers in Hindman, and found that the new master artist in residence was actually a luthier. And that kind of spurred me to try it again. So I came over and told Doug, I want to learn to make dulcimers. He welcomed me right on in. We hit it off, and we've been at it ever since. The tie to Homer Ledford. We both, I came, through that book, I came really to admire Homer Ledford just from, the author of the book's description to him and his work methods, and just, the book is not really like an instructional manual for making dulcimers. It's more like a glimpse into Homer Ledford as a person. And I guess I came to love Homer through that book, had great admiration for him. And I was fortunate enough, I think twice, to actually do sound for Homer during a performance. And he was just as wonderful a person in person as he came through in that book. Homer is kind of our guru in absentia here in the shop. Things just sort of progressed. I told you a while ago about George Gibson bringing in the 2 Ed Thomas dulcimers. That was last November of 2012. George brought those 2 dulcimers in, and he told Doug that as far as he knew, the earliest dulcimer in Kentucky on written record was made sometime in the 1830s for a lady in Letcher County, Kentucky, and that the dulcimer was made by a man named Eli Boggs. And Doug, when he got to there, Doug said, "Wait a minute, George. My great-great-great-grandfather's name was Eli Boggs." And it was the same Eli Boggs. And I came back into work the next day, and Doug, of course, showed me the 2 Ed Thomas dulcimers, and we drooled all around them. And then he told me that story. When he got to that part, I said, well, wait a minute. I'm related to the Boggses on my mother's side. And so I went home that evening and I called my sister, who keeps her family tree records. And it turns out that my great-great-great-great-grandfather, it's the same number of greats, was the very same Eli Boggs. That, and just little coincidental things like that just keep happening, and just, it kind of makes us feel like, we're kind of meant to be working on a project that's been wonderful. It seems Doug's been kind of surprised by it. I guess I was a little bit, but not as much by him. But, people will come in just off the street, and it seems like almost everybody around here has either taken a class or a workshop where they've made a dulcimer, or a family member has, or they have a family member who made dulcimers as a hobby, and almost everybody has got one in the home, hanging on the wall, or stuck back in the closet, or put up in the keepsake chest because Grandpa made that dulcimer.
I believe Knott County is unique in that respect. I've never seen any place like this in my life, where there's so many people who will come in the door and say, "Oh yeah, I made a dulcimer once." I mean, we've literally had hundreds since we started. What's changed since we started working on this? I don't think I'm overstating it to say that the whole community has changed.
It has.
Because we've been gathering a lot of interest and a lot of momentum with tourism, with, we're having a meeting today about our first Dulcimer Fest, that it's really just a direct extension of our work together here.